everyone, welcome to International Entrepreneurship EPPK 6313. Today we will discuss the introductory concepts relating to the subject. Because this is a postgraduate subject, so the concepts will be more advanced, and how we discuss the concepts and theories will be more advanced. What is international entrepreneurship? As a definition, it is a discovery, enactment, evaluation and exploitation of opportunities across national borders to create future goods and services. So, if you have taken basics in entrepreneurship, you will notice that this is the definition of the entrepreneurship process. And because this is a subject that is cross-field between entrepreneurship and international business, this subject focuses on opportunities across national borders. So, entrepreneurship process in international context. So, key process here is the formation of opportunities and their exploitation. 1. The elements of proactivity and innovativeness, because doing business across borders entails more risk, entails more uncertainty. So entrepreneurs need to be more proactive, they need to be more innovative. There's also a geographic perspective towards understanding topics in international entrepreneurship, because different geographical situation, they have different geographical environment in terms of politics, socio-cultural and so on. So this will influence the formation and exploitation of opportunities across national borders. Towards risk, it involves innovativeness and proactiveness. Innovativeness, why? Because entrepreneurs need to be highlighting themselves more in comparison to their competitors in international markets. Again, international markets, they entail more risk, more uncertainty. So they need to be more innovative, more proactive. It also deals with opportunities across national borders, different geography, different space. Even if you go to another country, you will see how different the geographical elements are. The land is different, the weather is different. That is physical differences. There's also non-physical differences, culture, politics and so on. The exploration and exploitation of opportunities in international market also deals with time in terms of precocity and also speed. How much knowledge that the entrepreneur has going into the international opportunity, and how fast or slow the international opportunity process is. In international entrepreneurship, we also talk about how technology will increase the speed of internationalization. The entrepreneurial process also involves risk and uncertainty that comes from the environment. So, it's an interaction between the entrepreneur's resources, attitude, and also the environment. As a phenomenon, so this subject is relatively new. So in the 1980s, 1990s, we talk about international business in terms of multinational companies. Only multinational companies are able to venture into the international market because they have more resources, their size is bigger, they are able to take on international opportunities again because international market is more risk. It has more risk, it has more uncertainty. But around 1990s, there's a new generation of companies called International New Ventures. These are startups that engage in international business since their inception. As early as within their 5 years, they are able to go into the international market. They seek to derive significant competitive advantage from the use of resources and share of outputs in multiple countries. In the 1990s, we also see a lot of the emergence of born global firm. Usually, they focus on exporting. Again, within 5 years, they already deal with international operations. There's also international entrepreneurial firms. Yeah, they go international very early. And these are the ventures that we will discuss when we are discussing speed of internationalization. Okay. One of the most discussed born global firm is Amazon. So Amazon.com, it started as a bookseller. Sell books worldwide, started in 1995, 1994. Within 5 years, they went to Germany. They have operations in Japan because it is web-based, selling and buying books through the web. So they sell and buy books in Germany, sell and buy books in the US, in Japan. So within 5 years, they already have internationalized, so making them a born global firm. So in terms of international entrepreneurship, started with Amazon. Yeah. Then we have Shopify. This is the starting of e-commerce trend. Yeah. And then we started to use Facebook a lot, and then starting to combine social and also business within the technological space. And international entrepreneurship also includes social ventures, also NGOs. There are a lot of social entrepreneurship projects that can be done overseas. These are considered international international entrepreneurship opportunities because it is considered a solution to a market gap. So they are international. They are dealing with social problems, but within that perspective, it is still international entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurial internationalization of young or small firms or ventures in established firms dealing with social issues. So the 3 O's in international opportunities is first, the orientation, the international markets of entrepreneurs and their organizations, the location of the opportunities and the characteristic of the opportunities, which will influence how entrepreneurs explore and exploit these opportunities. And lastly, through what? Usually the organization, through the resources and capabilities to explore and exploit international opportunities. Who are international entrepreneurs? So, international entrepreneurs are individuals who found firms. They internationalize over time through the process of exploration and exploitation of opportunities. So they can be top management team, they can be key decision makers. Usually, international entrepreneurs are individuals with cross-cultural experience. It can be digital nomads. They travel all the time, so they have cross-cultural experience. They can be immigrants. Through their unique circumstances, they have cross-cultural experience. Eventually, somehow, they will learn the local language. They start a business in that foreign country. Constant travelers, they have cross-cultural experience. Expatriates, they started as managers, then they become entrepreneurs. International students, they come to a new country as students, they learn about the country, they accumulate resources and start their own venture. There's also refugee. It can also be considered as international entrepreneurs. Okay. International entrepreneurship is increasingly more familiar because of increasing globalization. First is through advancements in information and telecommunication technologies, efficiency in transportation, and reduction of trade barriers. All of this will lower costs. Lower cost, which is increases the likelihood for international entrepreneurial process. For example, there's a person from Pakistan in Malaysia. They came to Malaysia from Pakistan trying to get a job. Obviously cannot work as a labourer for a long time, so he started importing medical device from his hometown and selling them to Malaysian hospital. So from his experience as a taxi driver, as a labourer in Malaysia, getting to know the country, getting to know the people in the country, and also balancing them with the knowledge that they have from their home country. And this is the opportunity. As a field, again, this subject is relatively new because international opportunities usually being considered by multinational companies or slightly larger companies with larger resources. And international entrepreneurship usually takes on international outsourcing activities to take advantage of various nations' competitive advantages. Some nations are more known for its low labour cost. China, Vietnam, for example. Some nations are more known for its natural resources, for example, India, yeah, and that is outsourcing. But in the early 2000, the management field started to integrate ideas from strategic management and start to explain the formation of companies that are ready and rapidly pursue international markets. So around this time, companies are already operating in international markets, no matter how small they are. So in this time, the scholars in international entrepreneurship, they begin to apply the concept, the idea of international entrepreneurship in various contexts, and they begin discussing emerging markets. International entrepreneurship does not only happen in countries, first world countries like US or Japan. It can happen in countries like emerging countries also, India, China, Malaysia, and so on. And the socio-economic implication of international entrepreneurship. Three main theoretical perspectives when discussing international entrepreneurship. I highlight entrepreneurship first because we are also talking about risk-taking behavior. We are also talking about opportunity development process. And entrepreneurs are the decision makers. They participate in the opportunity development process in international market, across borders, across boundaries. So the decision maker is dealing with differences in culture and also differences in cultural boundary. And while doing that, there are a lot of decisions on resource configuration, strategic direction of the venture. So we also borrow ideas from strategic management when we talk about resources and capabilities, and also dynamic capabilities. And in this case, international entrepreneurship sits in the middle of these three main topics. Okay, our first theoretical perspective is international business. Yeah, because we talk about the internationalization process. Some entrepreneurs, they go to the international market quite fast. Some of them go quite slow. There's also the element of opportunity in the international market. And because we are dealing with the international market, distance is a shaping element. We are not just talking about geographical distance, we also talk about cultural distance, we are also talking about institutional distance. What is institutional distance? The political environment in one country may be different with another country. So there's that institutional distance there. It shows in how we deal with law, in how we deal with paperwork, administrative processes, and so on. Next is entrepreneurship, because we are talking about risk-taking, productivity, entrepreneurs and their organization. Okay. We are also talking about strategic management, because we talk about competitive advantage, we talk about getting resources, reconfiguration of resources. Our world is increasingly more open towards international entrepreneurship activities. Let's look into the economic landscape first. In 1980s, 1990s, a lot of economies are opening. China opens its market. There's also the opening of many free trade areas, EU, ASEAN. All of this encourages international economic activities between countries. Who does all these economic activities between countries? These are businessmen, multinational companies. Yeah, Soviet Union breaks up, so globally the nations are ready to receive international opportunities. In terms of technology, remember we talk about Amazon.com as the first born global firm. What makes it born global is with the help of internet. It connects a lot of businesses together, ensuring faster growth. It gives birth to online marketplaces. There's also cost reduction that comes from technology. There's also changes in political environment. So there's also different legal environments for different markets. Cannabis, for example, it's legal in Thailand but not in Malaysia. So there's opportunity here. This is risk here. So in terms of economy, there's a change in political and economic landscape. Advancements in technology encourages international opportunities. There's also convergence of political legal institutions. It's easier for entrepreneurs to respond to customers' demands. There's also industry-specific dynamics. A lot of countries are moving from manufacturing to knowledge-based. A lot of countries are moving from agriculture to manufacturing. So a lot of countries, they have different competitive advantages. So entrepreneurs are able to take advantage of these competitive advantages. If you want to manufacture, go to China. If you want to start a business in IT, go to Singapore. Okay. There's also an increase for travel in terms of international education and also work. So it gives birth to a new breed of entrepreneurs. So there are two ways to look into the subject. International entrepreneurship, we look into cross-national border behavior of entrepreneurial actors. What do they do in different countries? We also talk about differences between nations. So entrepreneurs and also nations. So when we talk about cross-national border comparison of entrepreneurs, we talk about if there's different country, different entrepreneurship environment, will it give birth to different entrepreneurs? According to the entrepreneurial framework conditions, that's the case. So there are three categories of countries here. So in terms of income, okay, India, the most entrepreneurship, the best entrepreneurship condition to start business. Okay. Iran, in this category, is the worst. Okay. Medium income countries. Lithuania, highest. High income countries, UAE highest. Italy is the lowest. So there's a factor of culture there. There's a factor of economic in terms of national income there as well. Okay, let's look into Malaysia. For this statistic, I only am able to get 2017. So Malaysia scores quite high in terms of physical infrastructure, but scores quite low in entrepreneurial education at school age. But in 2022, Indonesia, physical infrastructure quite high, entrepreneurial education is also quite high. So here, actually Malaysia and Indonesia is quite comparable, but Indonesia is doing far better in terms of providing a space to do entrepreneurship activities. Okay, the more recent statistic is here. So Indonesia has more entrepreneurs than Japan. It is partly because of the infrastructure. Okay, it is easy, like relatively easier to start a business, to enter an industry. It's not as easy in Japan. Okay. Of course, physical infrastructure in Japan is much better than in Indonesia. So again, there's no one best country to do business, but depending on the culture, depending on the infrastructure, depending on the government situation there, entrepreneurs must be able to take advantage of the strengths and weaknesses, to take advantage of the international opportunities in foreign market. Okay, this is a more recent statistic on total economic activity, meaning how many businesses are being registered in a specific year. This is lower income countries. Ecuador, actually the highest total early stage entrepreneurial activity. A lot for, we don't talk about Ecuador in terms of high income country, no, but the number of business being registered is the highest in 2020 for among these three categories of countries. Okay. We also compare differences between countries. This is where we highlight the role of context. The national economic, political and social conditions, it impacts both the supply of potential entrepreneurs and the market. So potential entrepreneurs, they are influenced by society. Okay. In general, we can see there are more Chinese entrepreneurs and more American entrepreneurs. If we are talking about culture, this is the influence of national culture. Yeah. So dimensions of culture that influences entrepreneurship behavior, risk-taking. So certainty avoidance. China is less comfortable with risk, meaning that they start a business because they want to avoid risk of not being employed, for example. Indonesia, uncertainty avoidance quite high. Another dimension predicting entrepreneurship is individualism. The higher the individualism of a country, the more likely for that society to start a business. We also talk about entrepreneurial activity and behavior. In some countries, a lot of entrepreneurs who found firms in many different industries. But in some countries, entrepreneurship is not the first choice. So just the context, the environment of a certain country, they will encourage or discourage entrepreneurial behavior. So nations will influence entrepreneurship rates. They will influence what kind of entrepreneurship. Some countries, they have entrepreneurship education very, very early on in schools. Some countries, they don't have that. They only have entrepreneurship education in university. Yeah. So nations will influence entrepreneurship rates and which kind of industry. There are more agricultural entrepreneurs in Thailand, for example. There are more technological entrepreneurs in Singapore, for example. So, to understand the field, we look into the formal environment in international business. We look into demography, level of development and level of government intervention. Because, why? There are obstacles that come from the government. Bureaucracy, taxes, access to finance, this will determine how easy or difficult it is to start a business, to sustain a business. Okay? For example, Vietnam. Vietnam has evolved dramatically since 1994. Okay? Becoming more developed because the government is more open towards international business and economic activities. There's also informal aspects of the field, culture. Country cultural dimension, high individualism, low in uncertainty avoidance, this will encourage entrepreneurship. There's also social stigma, entrepreneurial failures. Yeah, it is worse in some countries, for example, Japan. In Japan, you see less entrepreneurs because there's high rate of fear for failure, especially in entrepreneurship. So, combination of institution matter. Japan, the infrastructure is very good, but risk-taking is quite low. Yeah, fear of failure is quite high. So, across different countries, it will depend on external factors and internal factors. External factors will include nation, industry, and individual behavior will also determine what kind of activity that the entrepreneur will undertake. So, external factors include intellectual property protection, openness to trade, competition. Too much rules will encourage informal behavior. Yeah, there's also internal aspect of international entrepreneurship. Yeah, focusing on risk-taking, entrepreneurial intention, knowledge of entrepreneurship, and so on. International entrepreneurship also goes beyond for profit. So because a lot of problems everywhere in the world, there's social entrepreneurship, there's domestic social entrepreneurship, there's also international social entrepreneurship. Who does this? Okay, first we have returnee entrepreneurs. Who are returnee entrepreneurs? These are individuals who become refugee in a different country. Let's say they run away from a war, from their country, which is at war, and then they come back to build their country. So they return for social good, for greater good. So that is still beyond national borders. It is considered as international entrepreneurship. So, basically today we talk about international entrepreneurship as a combination of multiple fields. It is an interaction of various external and internal factors, and we also talk about two ways to look into international entrepreneurship. We talk about internationalization, venturing into the international market and comparing different countries in terms of their economic activities, entrepreneurial activities. For further reading, you can refer to this. They give more insight on what is Born Global Firm. Okay, we use this textbook a lot, and we also, if you want to understand more about comparative international entrepreneurship, you can focus on this article. Okay, till next time, I will see you next time. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.